Welcome back, and now we're going to talk about entrepreneurship, and of course that this is a word that signifies a lot of meanings, but there are many characters that we have known, very popular characters who have made it so big that would truly reflects the real meaning, or describe the real meaning of the word entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship with Dr. Ahmed ElGarhy, UN Youth Ambassador, international speaker, business studies division lecturer, American University in Cairo. Good morning, Dr. ElGarhy.
Good morning, Dina.
Good morning, Doctor.
morning.
Can you first define to us what's entrepreneurship and how can it support the national economy at its current stage?
Well, entrepreneurship is one of the modern concepts in business and in economy in general nowadays. It is simply the art of seizing or creating opportunities to add value to the internal community of the local businesses. Last September in New York, the United Nations held its Social Good Summit, and one of the main concepts or topics for discussion was the entrepreneurship. And actually there was a very important note by the United Nations Youth Ambassador at the opening speech of the summit. He said that the world governments are required to create 500 million employment opportunities in the upcoming 15 years. And this is impossible by all means. So if somebody is waiting for an employment opportunity to come from the government, unfortunately he will have to wait for longer than he expects. So that's why the new trend nowadays in general economy is to go for entrepreneurship. Simply, this is starting small businesses and trying to find the gaps in the market and fill in these gaps through creative ideas and solutions that adds value to the economy. And at the same time, when people start being entrepreneurs, then they will be helping directly in improving the economy, because they will not be seeking or looking for employment opportunities. On the contrary, they will be providing other employment opportunities for their small teams. So this is one of the most important concepts that can provide real and actual solutions for our current economical situation.
Right, the term or the concept of entrepreneurship, do you think it have developed or have changed with the 21st century? Because if we look at some popular entrepreneurs like Donald Trump, for example, in the United States, and Richard Branson of Virgin Atlantic in the United Kingdom, and other entrepreneurs, and we compare them to Onassis. The Greek tycoon Onassis before. He was not even well educated,
Yes.
but he was the #1 entrepreneur throughout the whole world. But now the idea of an entrepreneur have changed. Also, we have very successful characters here who did not acquire enough education, but they're very successful and they have credibility and they even have political views. So should we link it with education and studies and planning and business education, or is it a gift and qualification that we inherited from God?
Well, actually, without going to the United States or even to Greece, we have the most important example of an Egyptian entrepreneur who was not educated. Abdel Ghafour al-Bur'i in Lan Aish fi Gilbab Abi was a very good example of a very successful Egyptian entrepreneur. In fact, entrepreneurship has changed over time. Yes, in the past, entrepreneurs were usually people with quite good experience. They might not be educated, but they have good experience that would support them in their starting businesses. But nowadays, the concept has completely changed. Entrepreneurs are mostly very young people. You can see Mark Zuckerberg and of Facebook, for example, and there is the guy of WhatsApp. He's like the last phenomenon in this field.
And even Steve Jobs is a good example of the entrepreneur who never got enough well-educated, but he made it so big.
Yeah, and Bill Gates. Actually, most of them did not continue through the regular educational systems. Entrepreneurship, in the first place, is a mentality. So you have the mentality of doing something of your own, and you have the courage to do it. Many people think that to be an entrepreneur, you need many resources to start a very small business. But this is a myth, because many of these successful international examples, they started really very small. So, for example, Facebook, when they just started, it was not like the Facebook that we see nowadays. Facebook started almost 10 years ago. Look at the very first Facebook profile or Twitter profile. It was something very basic. You can just put in your one picture of yours and very simple information about yourself. So all the options that we have nowadays of the share and the like and the groups and the fan pages and the all these things were not there in the first place. So it was just something very simple. So to start, one of the main things, just pick something very small that you can manage easily, and then you can build on later. Because when people start with too many things in mind to at the beginning, they actually face a problem that they cannot control or manage these things, especially if they are not well educated when it comes to management studies and how to run different business functions. But when you just focus on one small bit of the business, then this will help you later on to take it forward and always make phases. So phase number one will start with this very small bit, and then in phase number two we can add things to that, and you can take, as I said, Facebook as a case study and see how did it evolve during the past few years.
So what's your advice for young startup firms?
The most important thing is to start. People waste too much time planning and studying the environment and the market, and this actually makes them very reluctant to start, and makes them and makes the distance between them and the start actually getting longer and not getting closer. So when they just take a step forward, even if it was not very successful, at least they will learn from it. There are very good examples in Egyptian universities nowadays. And actually they made very small startups, and they started booming in the whole region. And when you look at the resources that they started with, they were just like very few amount of money, probably less than $1,000. They can collect this amount of money from 3 or 4 members of the team, and then they can start. So number one, start. The second thing is start small and focus on just one thing as a start, and then build on it. The next thing is try to work on your skills as a CEO. As an entrepreneur, you work as a CEO for a very small business. So start working on the on skills like business communication in general, including business writing and delivering presentations, and as well delegation, because no one can, even very big businesses like Facebook and Microsoft and Google. Yeah, it's true that it was the idea of one of them, be it Mark or Bill Gates, but in the end he cannot do something alone. So he has to work with a team. So when you come to choose the team, choose the right people to work with, and make sure that you develop your delegation skills so that you can divide different tasks between you and the team members, and always think of a benefit exchange. Because one of the things that will make a starting business fail is that they start spending money on 2 different items, and at the beginning they don't have enough resources to do that. So think of how to minimize your expenditures to the minimum, and think of how to make the benefit exchange. For example, if you work in the field of event management, you can, for you to make a big event, you will start thinking of there are many items that I would need to spend money on, like the photography, the videography, the rental of the place, the media coverage, and the food and beverage. All these items you cannot afford, especially if you are a small startup. Yet you can make barter deals with people providing different services that you can give them something in return, not necessarily money. So for example, I can get you to as a photographer for my event, and I can give you free invitations to my event. The invitations will cost you nothing, but this will save from the other side the cost of the photographer, and so on. So you can start building on such ideas to make mutual benefit exchange deals that are not costly, and at the same time they are beneficial for both sides.
Right. The ideas of making new businesses they have opened up to new total venues, like you said, Facebook, like WhatsApp, like I mean, someone, if you compare someone like Mark Zuckerberg and another tycoon who is running a business, oil business. An oil business, it goes without saying that you're going to get flowing money like water.
Definitely.
But businesses like social internet were not, I mean, very common before someone came up with it. So do you think in the coming generation there will be new venues opened up for new ideas to make booming businesses other than oil, than, I mean, the stereotype businesses that give you decent money?
Well, actually, this is a matter of fact. Every now and then, if you look at the market, the top 10 demanded jobs in the market, they completely or entirely change every 5 years almost. So in 2005, if you look at the list, it was, and then if you review it back in 2010,
that would also make the rule change.
Exactly, because the nature of the world business is changing. So, for example, we have the outsourcing industry. Many people started working in the offshoring services providing, and that was not there like 15 years ago. Nowadays, there are many sectors would come under this thing, and they run billions of dollars business on annual basis. We have that in Egypt. Many entrepreneurs have started investing in this field. The software in general,
the telecommunications,
and telecommunications, of course. And the good thing as an entrepreneur in markets, there are sometimes what we call the entry barriers. Some markets are really very challenging to get in, like the telecommunications. But if you go to the web, you still can find business opportunities through providing services. You do not necessarily have to go through production, for example. No, you still can provide a service, and this is something affordable on the small scale. Finally, there is one of the things that I liked in the summit, that by the end they said, we do not anymore need to teach our children how to write their CVs. We would rather teach them how to write their business plans. This is the most beneficial thing that we can do together.
Dr. Ahmed ElGarhy, UN Youth Ambassador and International Speaker, Business Studies Division Lecturer, American University in Cairo, thank you for your time. And this brings us to the end of today's edition of The Breakfast Show. Thank you, Dina.
Thank you, Shireen. That was my pleasure. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.